When Dune Part 1 premiered, it was far from certain that Denis Villeneuve's sweeping adaptation of Frank Herbert's novel would become a cultural and box office phenomenon. Yet, against all odds, the first film laid a foundation that Dune Part 2 would elevate to cinematic grandeur. With Dune Part 3 now confirmed and expected to draw heavily from Dune Messiah, the saga's evolution raises one crucial question: who is Dune really about? Because by the time the credits rolled on Part 2, the true heart of the story had quietly shifted from the rise of Paul Atreides to the tragedy seen through Chani's eyes. Paul's transformation from Messiah to monarch. Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 stands as one of the most ambitious sci-fi films in decades. Every sweeping sandscape, hand-built set, and meticulously choreographed battle serves to ground Frank Herbert's sprawling universe in tangible realism. But beyond its spectacle, Part 2 is a story of transformation, of belief, corruption, and identity. Paul Atreides begins as the audience's anchor, a young man caught between destiny and doubt. Yet, as his visions intensify and the Freemen rally around him as their prophesied savior, Paul's humanity begins to erode. His rise to power, marked by vengeance and reluctant acceptance of his divine image, transforms him into something alien, even to himself. By the film's conclusion, the once noble heir is replaced by a man who threatens emperors, abandons love, and ignites holy war. The tragedy isn't merely that Paul seizes power, it's that he becomes a myth rather than a man. When Chani becomes the true protagonist. As Paul drifts toward inevitability, Chani's role quietly grows. Introduced in Part 1 as a mysterious vision and potential love interest, Part 2 gives her agency and, ultimately, authorship. Unlike the other Freemen who embrace Paul's godlike persona, Chani resists the prophecy. She sees through the illusion, fighting to preserve the man she loves beneath the legend others demand him to be. Her defiance makes her the audience's emotional compass, our window into the cost of Paul's transformation. That perspective crystallizes in the film's finale. When Paul claims victory over the Emperor and takes Princess Irulan as his bride, Chani refuses to kneel. In that defiant gesture of heartbreak, betrayal, and rejection, Villeneuve subtly transfers the story's emotional weight. The tragedy of Dune Part 2 isn't Paul's rise to power, it's Chani watching the man she loves vanish behind it. In that moment, Dune ceases to be Paul's story and becomes Chani's. What Dune Part 3 must confront. If Dune Part 2 chronicles the making of a messiah, Part 3 promises the reckoning of a ruler. Drawing inspiration from Dune Messiah, the third film will explore Paul's reign, the consequences of his choices, and the inevitable unraveling of his empire. Yet, with Paul's inner world now consumed by prophecy and paranoia, Dune Part 3 will need a human lens, and Chani is the perfect candidate. Her grounded morality, her grief, and her resistance make her the ideal counterbalance to Paul's God complex. Villeneuve has already expanded Chani far beyond her literary counterpart, reframing her as the emotional core of a story once dominated by ideology. If he continues in that direction, Dune Part 3 could transcend the hero's journey altogether, transforming the saga into a tragic study of power seen through the eyes of those who suffer beneath it. Of course, readers of Dune Messiah know the darkness that awaits Chani and how her fate will define Paul's downfall. That inevitability only strengthens her importance. She is not merely a supporting character, but the story's soul, the tragedy beneath the sand. In the end, Dune Part 2 wasn't about Paul's conquest. It was about what that conquest cost. Chani's rejection of Paul mirrors the audience's horror as a beloved hero becomes a tyrant. As Dune Part 3 approaches, Villeneuve's vision seems clear. Dune is not the triumph of destiny, but the decay of it, and it's through Chani's eyes that we're reminded what's lost when gods are born from men.